In tonight's Technology Insider, a history lesson on the debate over encryption. In their latest court filing, the Justice Department says a locked iPhone used by one of the San Bernardino killers probably holds evidence of the eventual attack. Joining me with the latest is Andrea Peterson, tech policy reporter at the Washington Post. Andrea, let's start with some background on this high-profile encryption dispute. It dates back to a court order delivered on February 16th. Bring us up to date.
So yes, this has been a long-standing sort of debate that the government's been having with technology companies about whether or not they should be forced to help the government when their products are secured in a way that the companies themselves aren't able to unlock data for investigators. In this particular court order, the judge out in California has ordered Apple to help create software and load it onto the iPhone when used by one of the San Bernardino shooters in order to get around certain security measures that are in place on the phone.
FBI Director James Comey testified before Congress last week. There's another hearing next Tuesday in Southern California. What happens then?
So, it's possible that after that hearing, when it wraps up, the judge could issue a vocal ruling then, but it's more likely that there will be a written ruling a little bit down the line. And either way, it seems like whichever side loses is going to appeal. So this legal battle could be going on for quite some time.
You're right, and the dispute's been brewing for a long time. Privacy experts consider it a landmark case. Most of Silicon Valley supports Apple. The Black Lives Matter movement does too. Explain that.
So you really need to, as you mentioned earlier, have a little bit of a history lesson to understand where a lot of civil rights activists are coming down on this case. And that's because the civil rights community actually has a bit of a history with the FBI when it comes to surveillance. If you look back, beginning in the 1950s, the Bureau started doing a program that was ostensibly aimed at cracking down on domestic communism, but sort of over time spread to target other domestic political groups, including civil rights leaders and even Martin Luther King Jr. himself, who became a target of FBI surveillance, wiretaps on his home and his offices, bugs in his hotel rooms in late 1963. So, and eventually those taps were used to uncover what the Bureau believed to be evidence of extramarital affairs that the civil rights leader had. And actually, he was sent by a member of the FBI a pretty disturbing letter at one point that referenced audio recordings of those alleged extramarital affairs and urged him to kill himself.
Wow.
So if you are civil rights leaders and activists today, perhaps you have a reason to be a little wary of FBI surveillance.
Andrea, good history lesson there. And you report also that James Comey even keeps a copy of the letter approving the King wiretap on his desk, I guess for obvious reasons, supporting all of these rights that we have.
Yeah, he's mentioned it before in speeches. He says he does it in order to remind himself of, how far abuses can go, and also has all new agents be trained on how the agency interacted with Reverend King.
Now, I'm curious, before we go, how is this debate playing out at South by Southwest in Austin? It's got to be an issue.
It certainly is. In fact, President Obama, while not mentioning the explicit case involving Apple, actually appeared to side with law enforcement in this debate during comments on Friday night. So it's certainly a big topic of discussion there.
Andrea Peterson, tech policy reporter at the Washington Post. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.